It's a wonderful symbol for intimacy because your hearts are connected in this posture. Your hearts are right up against each other. Sometimes when we make love, we forget to bring the hearts in. And in Tantra, we're very interested in this heart connection. So when you sit really close like this and breathe together, you remember that we're here to experience our connection with each other.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sexology Podcast. I am so excited to welcome Catherine Auman to our show. Catherine, welcome to our show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am excited about this conversation because you're the perfect person for us to have this conversation. We're just sharing that how you wrote multiple books on Tantra, which is the topic of conversation today. But I'm kind of curious. I know you're a marriage family therapist. How did you get interested in Tantra?
I was actually interested in Tantra before I was interested in becoming a marriage and family therapist. I was in a bookstore one day and I saw a book that said sex was spiritual. And I had one of those kind of doing moments because I'd never heard that those two went together before. And I thought, oh, that's what's going on. Of course. I've been looking for something deeper about sexuality. And it just piqued my curiosity and set me off on a path to find out as much as I could about Tantra. I was in therapy myself. Like many therapists, I'd had a difficult childhood. And I wanted to heal myself and learn about relationships. And so that came second. And now I do what I call Tantra informed couples therapy.
That is beautiful. I know we were just talking about, we have a little bit of lag. I hope I'm not interrupting you, but I love this marriage of Tantra and couples therapy, especially for sex therapy. So, can you tell us about how, like, one of the challenges that many of my clients have is kind of like entering this space of sensuality with their partner, like pivoting from parent to parent, roommate to roommate communication, partner to lover. And I know Tantra has a lot of practices to help people with that kind of ritual. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of beginner friendly meditation process to help people kind of have this more sensual awareness as they're entering these erotic spaces?
Absolutely. First of all, we want to take a look at, as I'm sure you have on previous shows, the fact that our culture is increasingly encouraging us to be just a visual culture. So we spend a lot of time online looking. I certainly spend a lot of time during the day looking, and we forget that we're actually in bodies. And some of us don't feel too good about being in our bodies. We think we're too fat, or we have cellulite, or our breasts aren't big enough, or whatever complaints we have. So we have got, the body can feel pain and age and all these things that we don't like about it. So a lot of us have grown up in a mainstream culture where we're kind of divided like this. We kind of spend our lives looking and thinking and analyzing. And when we bring this to the bedroom, we have a certain type of sex, which may be a lot of fun, but we have a totally different experience in Tantra where we practice bringing our consciousness down from our head into our bodies. So maybe we could practice this a little bit right now, where we just take a deep breath all the way down and even though this doesn't actually happen literally, I like to think of it as letting the breath come all the way down to the tailbone. We take a big breath and drop it down to the tailbone. And then kind of hang out inside down there in the pelvis. The actual literal word for this is interoception, which means we're perceiving inside the body. So if you can kind of look around inside the pelvis, inside the heart, inside the body. This is a practice that I do several times a day. I remind myself, am I in my body or am I just existing as a mind? This would be considered a tantric practice of reclaiming that I'm an embodied person. I'm not just a head and an eye and a brain. And much of the world is encouraging us to just experience the world through our minds. But when we drop down into our bodies, we have a whole different sensual experience of being alive. Sometimes, as I said, that can be a painful experience, so we don't want to feel it. But as tantric people, we try to cultivate this. I want to be an awareness that I'm not just a head, I'm a body too. My the great Tantra master Osho used to recommend that we pretend that we see ourselves as headless people wandering around without heads. And of course, the head is the part of the body too, but I have found that kind of practice also to be helpful to remember, what if I were just a body? What if I were making love just as a body without my mind running the show? Well, these are beginning tantric practices of reclaiming I'm a sensual person. I'm not just a person who thinks about sensuality and sexuality, but I experience it in my body. And once you make love with the whole body, it's a completely different experience.
I think that's very powerful and essential skill. I know that for many people, as you said, it's uncomfortable to be in your body, whether you had a history of trauma or stress level is hard, or your body tells you that I don't want this in this moment. Sometimes people come in my practice for sexual dysfunction. The root of sexual dysfunction is their penis, their vulva saying that, no, I don't want this. And that is the reason. So if we're doing this embodied practice, which is very powerful, and for example, we notice numbness or we notice overwhelming discomfort, what do you recommend people to do with around this kind of meditation practice?
So, very important in Tantra is that we don't try to get rid of those feelings. So if we feel numbness, that is very good information. If we feel I don't want this, that is very good information. If we feel I'm uncomfortable with this person, that is very good information. So one thing I like to teach is that inside of all of our bodies is a little dog that we can trust, because you know how dogs will just walk up and decide whether they trust you or not. And this is a very good thing about the body, that the body can say, I don't feel comfortable right now making love to this person. And this might be a person you know for 30 years, or it might be a new friend. And this knowing of the little dog inside is something to be trusted in Tantra. We don't try to say, oh, they're cute, I should ignore this, or I'm feeling numb, so I should just try to power on through. We say, have a curiosity about what is this numbness, or what is this uh, lack of safety with this person, and honor it.
I like
So
that.
often, um, uh, information you might get on the internet. Some of it's very good, but some of it will tell you to just ignore that and carry on and push on through. And in Tantra, we would not think that was a good idea at all. We would say these uh, these feelings are there for a reason, and we want to make friends with them and see what kind of healing they might need.
Mhm. I think that is very powerful, as you said, not necessarily trying to push it away or disconnect from it, listening to wisdom of it. I think, as you said, that can be very powerful. And I know that there are everything like that, at least I experience around tantric practices about creating this connection. And one of the positions that many people are heard about when it comes to tantra is yap yum. I heard people talking about it during the beginning or during the core play. Can you tell us about how can we incorporate that in our sexual kind of like tantric practices?
Of course. And if you don't mind, I want to share a little statue I have here on my desk of
Oh my
a couple in Yab Yum.
god.
And this is where the one partner is seated and the other partner is sitting on their lap. And you notice this is maybe a little bit old fashioned and sexist, because you notice how small the woman is compared to the man. And actually, even though I'm shorter than my husband, when I sit on his lap, I'm taller than him. So anyway, it's a wonderful symbol for intimacy, because your hearts are connected in this posture. Your hearts are right up against each other. Sometimes when we make love, we forget to bring the hearts in. And in Tantra, we're very interested in this heart connection. So when you sit really close like this and breathe together, you remember that we're here to experience our connection with each other. Tantra is very different than certain types of conventional sex, which are fine, where each person is out to get their own orgasm and the other person is there to help them get that. That's one type of sex, which is really fun. Tantra is not that particularly. Tantra is about how can we create intimacy, whether we have an orgasm or not. So this is one way of perhaps starting at the beginning, perhaps at the end, perhaps in the middle, perhaps anytime. Perhaps we're not going to even have sex. We just want to sit and connect. I know one couple I worked with said they've just been practicing every day sitting in this posture together. They may or may not have love, but make love, but just that connection has brought them to new levels of intimacy. While you're there together, you might stroke a little, but mostly it's for just feeling the heart connection. Perhaps what we talked about earlier, dropping down inside the body and feeling, oh, my body with this other beautiful body that we get to do this special thing together. You might try breathing together, or you might try not breathing together and just see what the difference is. Some people experience when you breathe together that makes a beautiful synchronized flow. Some people say, I don't want to do anything particularly. I just want to be here and watch the breath come in and out as it would naturally would. Just want to watch my breath, feel inside my body, and feel what this is to be with this person that I am inviting into intimacy with myself on whatever level, whether it's just to do this yab yum practice or whether it's beginning to make love.
I like that a lot, kind of like the different options in the menu around yap yum, and even kind of like having it as a ritual of connection. I know we both are sex therapists, and one of the things that we know in couples therapy is that they talk about ritual of connection, and Gottman talks about extended kiss. And to me, it feels like a that ritual of connection on steroid, right? Like it's very connecting, it's heart centered, and it's very vulnerable, right? Kind of being that close with someone. And as you said, the kind of like dropping in the body and see what shows up, it's really important. Because sometimes people try to mute the kind of like the wisdom of the body when they're having sex, right? Maybe there's some emotions, but this feels very intimate, especially, and I think it's more intimate if you don't have sex, right? Because you're very focused and more kind of like grounded in a way, versus during sex, there are like peaks and valleys of different emotions and arousals. If people want to do the breathing, I know with Tantra, when you're sitting face to face, there are ways to sync breathing. But with Yap Yam, tell us how can we play with the breath together?
You can play with the breath by holding your breath. You can play with your breath by, as I said, just observing it.
Mhm,
You can play with your breath by synchronizing with your partner. So they inhale, you inhale. They exhale, you exhale. You can also make a circular movement.
mhm,
So one partner would inhale as the other one is exhaling. And this makes a circular movement that also could be something very interesting.
mhm,
Um, what we're trying to do in Tantra is like not do the right thing. We're trying to be curious explorers. So in conventional sex, you'll have this type of uh, touch, for example, or this type of breath
mhm,
creates this type of result. In Tantra, we're kind of letting go of that and saying, what happens if we try this kind of breathing on a circular basis? What if we reverse that? What do we notice about ourselves? What do I notice is my truth about that? Do I start to get a little scared? Do I start to feel my heart opening? Do I suddenly remember my sexual abuse and need to take my space? So we're just very curious what happens with these different types of breath that we might experiment with when we're so close with someone. Maybe we hold our breath because we're afraid to get a little closer.
mhm,
Interesting. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. So there are many breaths we could try and learn more about our own sensuousness, our own the way it works in our body, and the way it works with this partner. And the way it works with this partner might be different than with another partner. So we
Mhm.
just stay in a state of curiosity and enjoyment of this special moment. We
Mhm.
don't get to be intimate much of our lives. Even if we make love every day, it's still only a percentage of our lives. So we want to relish and enjoy this particular coming close with this person as much as possible.
Mhm. I agree with you. I think that many people, when they think about tantra, from what they've seen in kind of commercial world, they think about these like 2 3 hours of kind of intercourse, right? What comes in their mind? It's very essential. There's nothing wrong with that, but the idea is not, as you talked about, it's not performance. It's like embodiment.
Mhm.
So for people that they kind of have this extended pressure to kind of have, okay, I have to perform, and but they that shows up and gets in the way of their pleasure. What do you recommend around that?
Well, I think it's good to talk about that with
Mhm.
your partner if you are trying to create intimacy. You could say, "Oh, I'm really feeling like I need to perform right now and do something, some great technique that I learned." And the partner might say, "You don't need to do that for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't need to do this. I just want to enjoy being with you."
Mhm.
So I kind of say that conventional sex and tantric sex are both fruit, but one's apples and one's oranges
Mhm.
because we let go of this. We might want to perform for fun sometimes, it's very fun, but we're letting go of needing to have the outcome of great orgasm.
Mhm.
If we come together and all we do is yab yum,
Mhm.
beautiful. If we
Mhm.
come together and we make love for 2 or 3 hours, beautiful. But we don't expect that that will happen every time. If it does, fine. If it doesn't, fine. What the purpose of being is connecting,
Mhm. Mhm.
connecting through the heart, through the soul, through the spirit, because it's really as we started off by saying, it's really about combining the spiritual with sexuality.
Mhm. I love that, and I like that you're kind of like comparing them to apple and oranges. That it seems like there could be path to different types of experiences. Um, and again, I just feel like Yap Yum is such an intimate, heart to heart, kind of like hearts forward in a way connection. What other positions that we can kind of put our bodies, whether we're having intercourse or other types of sexual connection, that usually talked about in tantra?
Well, any kind of position can be used in Tantra to uh, focus on the connection because we're not trying to necessarily have, it's kind of hard to grasp if you haven't experienced Tantra before, but we're not actually trying to uh, have a more intense experience. We're just trying to be present.
Mhm,
So, whereas in conventional sex, you might take a certain posture because it might make the feelings more intense.
mhm,
In Tantra, we're trying to say, what would foster more of a connection?
mhm,
So, what if I put my heart next to you? What if we lie sideways? What if we do pretty much the same um, positions as everybody does? But what if we're really present to how do you and I fit together this way?
mhm, mhm,
Versus how does it make a more intense experience?
mhm,
Does
mhm,
this lead more to orgasm? Actually, a lot of times in Tantra, we don't want to lead to orgasm because we
mhm.
don't want to stop making love. That's why people make love for 2 or 3 hours because it's so good. Why would you want to stop?
And I heard about like people how trying kind of practicing the tantric practice of controlling ejaculation, or even they say like kind of orgasm, dry orgasm for men. Is that something that you see in my practice? Because I have mixed feeling. I know some people say they have dry orgasm. That's not medical condition, right? That's something that they cultivate around kind of like their sensual practices. Is that something that you see and hear around practitioners?
I am not familiar with that term dry orgasm, but I know what my husband does.
Mhm.
And he will get to a certain state of arousal and he will
Mhm.
just relax.
Mhm.
Whereas normally in conventional sex, you would increase that arousal to get towards the orgasm. We're not
Mhm.
ready to stop.
Mhm.
So he will just relax mostly his stomach muscles and
Mhm.
he still keeps an erection, but he doesn't increase it to the point of no return.
Mhm.
But we can
Mhm.
make love for several hours that way because we stay at a certain level of arousal. It's similar
Mhm.
to edging, except that it's not controlled. It's just
Mhm.
let's relax a little more. So
Mhm.
tantric love is often what we might call a very relaxed lovemaking. We're
Mhm.
not trying to get more intense and more intense. You know, regular sex goes more intense, more intense, more intense, the big bang payoff,
Mhm.
which is very fun. But in Tantra, we're not trying to increase the arousal so much. We're trying to sustain the arousal for a longer period of time
Mhm.
because we find that increases love.
Mhm. Mhm.
It increases love that way. It's more time we can stay in that beautiful state together.
Mhm.
And if you have normal sex, which may last 20 minutes, that's great. But that's only 20 minutes of being close. Maybe you could be close in that beautiful, intimate stew for an hour, 2 hours, as you said, two or three.
Mhm.
And of course, we don't always have time to make love that long, but
Mhm.
that's we find that it actually becomes love making. It actually makes more love when you're not just in a hurry to stop being intimate.
Mhm. Mhm. I think that's just such a beautiful way of putting it, that kind of opportunity for connection, because I think with arousal, it comes more opportunity for kind of sensual connection. And I think it's incredible that you're talking about experiencing arousal and relaxing. And I know for many penis owners, that creates anxiety, right? Oh my God, if I relax more, what if I lose the erection? I have to accomplish orgasm before losing it. How do you recommend your kind of penis owner clients, male clients, to kind of practice that state of arousal and relaxation?
Well, I think it is good as a for anybody, penis owners and vagina owners, to practice masturbating without needing to come to an orgasm.
Mm,
Come to an orgasm if you want to, but also to develop the skill of staying in a heightened state of arousal and letting that be enough. And people
mhm,
would say, why would I want to do that? And I would say, because you will find that something else is possible that
mhm,
mainstream sex is not offering you as an option.
mhm,
There's different types of sex. There's apples and oranges sex.
mhm,
So if you can masturbate, both men and women, to a state of arousal. So, Joseph Kramer, for example, who is a sex educator in the Bay Area, talks about giving yourself 5 levels of arousal. I've also heard 10, but that's a little complicated. So you might self pleasure or pleasure your partner to a 1, to a 2, to a 3. And instead of continuing to a 4 or 5, you might notice this is a 3 arousal. Let me bring it back down to a 2
mhm,
and let me stay here for a while. And
mhm,
then let me bring it back up to a 4
mhm,
and let me feel what a 4 level of arousal is like. If I want to go to 5 and have an orgasm, that's my business.
mhm,
But you start training yourself that these interim levels of arousal can be very delicious
mhm,
without the big payoff.
mhm,
So, if you want, this is another technique that
mhm,
someone could use to develop their ability to be a tantric lover
mhm,
is when you're on your own or when you're stimulating a partner, you practice what are the 5 levels. Pick a number,
mhm,
6, 8, 10. But Joseph Kramer suggests the 5 levels. You practice arousing yourself or your partner to these different levels and becoming very familiar with them.
mhm,
And how could being aroused to a 3 level be utterly delightful? And that's all you want right now.
mhm, mhm,
Utterly delightful. And maybe today that's all we do. Maybe we don't. It doesn't matter. But we expand our ability to enjoy different levels of arousal instead of just the what we've been taught, which is arousal needs to always go in an upward direction and then fall off.
mhm, mhm. I like that a lot, Catherine, because I know I have many couples in my practice that the frustration is kind of build up of different levels of arousal, right? So I'm thinking about like my partner is not completing, they're not climaxing, therefore they're frustrated, or they're kind of coming too quickly. All of that can create lots of frustration. but how beautiful to kind of like practice, kind of like going to different states and kind of like develop this trust in your body that I can do this and I can kind of experiment with different arousal level, and that can be a complete experience.
Yes, it can be, and we're not taught this, and it's full of just hidden joy that is there waiting to be discovered.
Mhm.
This pressure we have on people that they have to come, or they have to come in a certain amount of time, or they come too fast, or they come too slow. This creates such an unrelaxed environment that it kind of is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
Because men, for example, need relaxation to be able
Mhm.
to uh, get an erection,
Mhm.
and they're not taught that. They're taught that it comes from stress. But a man needs to feel relaxed with his partner.
Mhm.
He needs to feel relaxed in the situation. There needs to be trust there for him to be able to get an erection.
Mhm.
They're over 15 years old. So, so creating this sense of relaxation. I had this experience when I was in India. I lived in a Tantra ashram in India for a year. And I had this experience where we were friends, and we were studying Tantra together. And we were doing an exercise where we were blindfolded. And I accidentally touched uh, one of my friend's penises. And I just thought, oh my goodness, never in my life have I touched the penis without trying to arouse it.
Mhm.
And from then I started seeing that many men have never touched their own penis without trying to arouse it.
Mhm.
And many women have never touched a penis without trying to arouse it.
Mhm.
So I started experimenting with, what if we just hold the penis gently and
Mhm.
let it see if it wants to do its thing or not, or maybe it just wants to be cradled.
Mhm.
Men have not been able to allow to be in touch with the fact that maybe they just want gentle stroking. Maybe they just want their penis to be held.
Mhm.
Maybe they want to be just slowly stroked and not have to worry about arousal. And so we can say, I just want to honor your penis. And whether you get hard or not doesn't matter to me, because I
Mhm.
want to be with you and our connection right now.
Mhm.
And a man can say to a woman too, if you want to orgasm, great. If you don't, I'm okay with that. It's up to you. If you
Mhm.
want me to do this particular stroke as it makes you come, I'll do that. Or if you want to just relax and be together, then that's okay with me. And we take this pressure off of orgasm, which creates a lot of performance anxiety, as you know.
Mhm. I love that. I was reflecting on my experiences that I never had uh genital touch with a partner, with another human, without having the goal of arousal, right? Like
Right?
so I think
Yeah.
it's such an interesting way of kind of like changing that, like what the kind of bringing the intentionality and being okay with like the outcome yourself and communicating with the partner. So I like that. That is such an interesting way of approaching it.
So we have something in Tantra where this might sound a little out there, but we actually worship the genitals. We see
Mhm.
their divinity. So we might just bow to them and see this beautiful flower, or this beautiful golden rod that is
Mhm.
brought into our presence, and we
Mhm.
just look at how beautiful they are and
Mhm.
maybe honor them and stroke them. They don't have to do anything, but we just realize this is a manifestation of the divine. This is someone I love, if even if I
Mhm.
love them for right now.
Mhm.
And you don't have to perform for me to encounter you as a person and share some love with you.
Mhm. I love that. Such a beautiful kind of again connecting experience instead of putting pressure on the partner. And again, I know many people are loving outside this context, but then there's just like they feel internal pressure around performance, and then they at times attacking their partner. You're not doing it right. But this is such a beautiful kind of like interpersonal, inter the kind of like human to human connection for conclusion of an experience. I know that in Tantra, rituals are big. What are some of the rituals that you invite people to consider as they're coming to the conclusion of tantric practices?
Well, with my husband, we have a daily practice, and we don't focus on orgasm. So people say, how do you know when you're done? And we often say, would you like to take a break now? Are you
Mhm.
ready to take a break? Because we don't want to say, do you want to stop? Because we assume that we never stop making love.
Mhm.
So we say, would you like to take a break now? Or sometimes we'll set a timer because we only have 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So it's like a meditation practice where we'll have
Mhm.
a 15 minutes. And at the end of that, we'll we make a gesture. We might do this.
Mhm.
We might we have a circular motion we might do with our hands, a
Mhm.
mudra,
Mhm.
and then we thank the other person.
Mhm.
I think this
Mhm.
is very important for thanking the other person for their presence, for showing up for you, for being loving towards you. Um, we all have quirks in our personalities where we can be quite unloving sometimes. And sometimes it feels quite amazing that this other person will show up and love you anyway. So this person will bring you affection to your body. So we thank each other. And it makes a nice ritual to close instead of just kind of falling asleep and snoring because we're done with the other person because we had an orgasm or didn't.
Mhm.
It's really an acknowledgement that this time together was sacred,
Mhm.
important to both of us, and very meaningful.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think couples can make up something that makes sense to them. But I think thanking the other person for this beautiful experience is always appreciated. When couples break up, one of the main reasons they say that their relationship didn't work is they didn't feel appreciated.
Mhm.
So I think if we can show appreciation for someone showing up for us in an intimate, loving way, it goes a long ways.
I love that. And how beautiful that kind of like that beautiful invitation of kind of like doing this closing exercise that you're acknowledging another person, make them feel seen and kind of expressing your gratitude. I think that it can that on its own can be very connecting because sex can be very vulnerable. Sensuality can be very vulnerable for many people. I know for many penis owners that many of my clients, they haven't had physical touch as much, except it was sex related. So I think sometimes people say, "Oh, my partner want to have sex with me because they want to use me," but for the partner, it's just a matter of connection, of getting that physical connection. So, Catherine, I know that you're wealth of great information and you wrote books, you have lots of expertise. So, for our listeners, if they are interested to work with you, what are some of the places they can find you?
Well, I'm on all the usual social media places. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My website is my name, CatherineAuman.com. And if you go to, I have quite a few YouTube videos, little short videos on all kinds of tantric subjects, all kinds of relationship subjects. So please help yourself there. And then I also have 4 titles on um, Amazon. There are on other places too, but Amazon sells 70% of all books are sold on Amazon. Can you believe that? So
Wow.
I have 4 titles there: Tantric Dating, Mating, Relating, and the Tantric Mastery Series. And those I'm lucky enough to say are all best-selling books in the category of sacred sexuality. They're short. I purposely made them short, easy to read, and hopefully they're helpful for people in your audience or anyone who might like to get some help that way. I purposely also priced them low so that they'd be available. One day I showed up and I saw that one of my books was one of the most wished for books, and I thought, I don't want people to wish for my book. I want them to be able to have it. So I lowered the price immediately.
Oh, so generous of you that you want it. Seems like accessibility is like your was a bigger goal than profit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Most writers aren't in it for the profit because it's really only the writer of Harry Potter that makes a lot of money. We just want to share the wealth and share ideas for intimacy because tantric sex can be one of the best things in anyone's life. Having that deep connection, that deep spiritual connection, uh, feeling the presence of the divine, whatever that means to you, if that's God or if that's a higher power, if that's the universe, feeling that connection entering into you with your beloved. It's just beyond description.
Well, thank you so much again for your time. I'm grateful that we had you on the show, and hopefully we'll have you in our show in future.
Thank you so much. It's been a delight.